Yeah, I've lived in Melbourne as well, so when I come back here, it's always interesting to see how the place has changed. You know, how I suppose gentrification has spread, especially through the northern suburbs where I mainly lived in Melbourne. I didn't live very far away from here now, and it's just seeing all the high rises go up here. It's very. I was walking to the Thornbury Theatre last night, and it was almost dreamlike. These kind of things rising up out of suburbia. I'm not sure how I really feel about it. Like, I can understand. There's one argument for, like, you know, it's better to have high density housing than spreading people out away from services. But what are you doing to these suburbs? And did my friends lived here? And there's this huge block of flats there now.
Yeah.
For once was, you know, a classic wonder from a quarter acre house that was probably quite beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know if you've even seen, like, out in Box Hill Way, like, that's like almost like another mini CBD. I don't know if you know Box Hill. It's like east.
Yeah.
It's like
I went to Box Hill a couple of times when I lived here, and
if you went there now, you'd be like, it's honestly like, my mate Will lives there, and like he has like a view of like the Box Hill town, and you'd think if you told someone that was like the CBD, they would probably believe it. It's crazy. There's like, and they got permits for like, it's like 25, 30 story. Like, it's crazy.
There's bits of Sydney like that.
Yeah.
I feel bad for remembering the record store out in maybe it's out in Campbelltown, but yeah, it's like that around there. It's
I don't
quite
know.
stark, and
I don't know what to make of it either. Like, you just see obviously the change and what it is to have a house now for most people. Like, it's really just owning, you know, no backyard. It's like a different way of living completely.
Yeah, I feel like we won't know for a couple of years the impacts, because it's just like it could be great. But, you know, there's plenty of examples where high density housing has worked, but heaps of, you know, you look at the big estates in the UK where they built these places to house people, to move them out of crumbling tenements and stuff. But then they forgot about them, and these huge tower blocks just got forgotten about.
They're like, yeah, that's true. It's really time.
Yeah.
So because obviously, I mean, I wanted to start at the start for you, like, growing up in Tasmania, and then because I know also you lived in Melbourne for a bit in your 20s, and then you ended up going back to Tassie. I read it was like that was a pivotal moment too. You mentioned, I think it was in the Gimme magazine. They did a really good interview with you and Chloe. But yeah, I guess I'll start just like Tasmania for you growing up, and early influences, and obviously getting into music as a teen, and what that whole sort of time was like for you.
So my family, I grew up in Hobart's northern suburbs, around like working class suburbs like Chigwell and Claremont. The suburbs that would, I guess, be made kind of fun of, you know, just in the way that unfashionable suburbs are. I know I think I had a pretty good childhood. I went to, you know, kind of good local state schools. Chigwell at that time was, well, still is, right in the periphery of the suburbs. So literally across the road was the bush and creeks. So did a lot of exploring and stuff like that, and rode my bicycle around, and my parents worked locally. My dad was what's technically termed a plant driver, so he mainly drove excavators for a big construction company in Tasmania called Hazel Brothers. And my mum, you know, on top of the labour of, you know, running a house and raising a family, did part-time work around it. We weren't that well off when I was little. I think it was reflecting on it, and like when you become an adult, you understand how things were for your parents that you didn't realise, obviously, when you were a child. So I think there were some kind of struggles, but my mum worked at pubs. She worked at a local pub called the Granada Tavern, which is still there. It's a classic suburban beer barn, and all the bands would like tour through there.
Oh man.
Mum, they would have like a big disco there as well, And whenever certain songs would come on the radio, Mum would say, oh yeah, people are really digging on this. And I think that was the first time I kind of noticed music as a thing.
Yeah.
And this is like 79, 80, 81. So I remember Rock Lobster by the B-52s, which is like a really easy song for kids to get into because there's storytelling and it's zany and stuff. And I might have seen it on Countdown at the time, but that really stuck in my head. Like a lot of the classic Oz rock at the time, but, I started noticing there was this thing called New Wave. And the first time I ever heard about punk was just those a bunch of 6-year-olds sitting together talking about the most full-on things, and a lot of other people had older brothers and sisters. So what's the most full-on movie you've seen? Oh, I was allowed to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which blows my mind showing that to a child. But you'd talk about the most full-on things, and people would say the most full-on band was the Sex Pistols. And I think that was my first ever time I can remember hearing about punk.
Right. At what, 6, 7 years old?
6 or 7.
I couldn't imagine.
It was such a concept I couldn't get my head around. Then probably forgot about it, and then actually heard the Sex Pistols music years later. And it's like, oh, it's that band.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they were the pivotal sort of little things, you remember,
these things that I can now, like these little signposts that I suppose I can connect and say, oh, this is the path I was on.
Yeah. So that was the first thing you were like drawn to, that you felt like, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Was there much else as a kid that you were like, I don't know, during school, things that you thought about doing? Like, I know obviously like music was always like, the main.
Yeah, I kind of would dip in, and it was actually my youngest sister, who's 2 years younger than me, that was really into music. She was into pop music at the time, going into the 80s.
Yeah.
She would be the one buying music and like magazines like Smash Hits and stuff like that. So I like listening to the radio, but from a young age, I was really into comedy and comedy that was like really old. Not stand-up, more like 1950s and 60s stuff, like The Goon Show, like Spike Milligan.
Yeah, right.
And it gradually into, like, which feeds into Monty Python. I was massively into kind of comics and sci-fi.
Yeah.
I was just, a total nerd when I was a kid. As most of my friends know, I was really into Doctor Who, but I was a classic generation to get into the Star Wars, and Star Trek was always being repeated, so they were kind of my passions before music. And then I think I seriously started listening to music around 13, 14, and that was just from like friends giving me tapes or check this out. And there was a lot of music TV shows on at that time in the mid to late 80s, so you would just, because there were 2 channels or 3 channels to pick from, you inevitably get exposed to that stuff.
Yeah. And do you reckon it was any different being in Tassie? Like, do you think it was harder back then for you guys to get sort of that exposed to that music and stuff? I just think, I know it's like a classic thing, and I know you mentioned, like, a lot of people must mention it, like, Tasmania being isolated stuff, but did you feel that at all as a youth or anything, like it being like, Yeah, yes and no. It was harder for me to get exposed to that stuff way out in the suburbs. I feel like maybe peers that I know that grew up in the inner city, peers that had older brothers and sisters, would get exposed to stuff. Yeah, right.
And it took me a few more years to get into things. It's hard to say because, like, speaking to older friends, I have friends that were listening to the MC5 and the Stooges when they were contemporaries in the early 70s, like Tasmanian people. People were reading the import music magazines like, what was it, Hit Parader or Cream or The Enemy or Melody Maker. We'd get them a few months later because they were the C-Freight
copies. Did you ever,
copies.
what about, like, because we're talking about Bruce before, the Fast Forward stuff, was that ever a thing? Was that more later? I was just curious.
Oh, I've seen Fast Forward.
Because I remember they were doing, magazine
people
cassette.
talking about, like older friends talking about Fast Forward. People would they would like good import record stores in Hobart. My good friend Wayne, who was in art school in the late 1970s, tells this classic story of, like you hear with all punk, people getting into punk. He was the kind of cheesecloth shirt wearing hippie art school student in 1977. Yeah. He went into the local import store, and the owner, Stefan, who's now sadly passed away, said, "We just got this record in. They're getting written about a bit. They're called the Ramones. They look ridiculous." And Wayne looked at the record and went, "Oh yeah, they look weird. They look like cartoon characters," which is a common story. And he took the record and just on a whim and listened to it, and it was the classic "Change Your Life." Yeah. And it's sort of, he cut his hair and irritated all the other hippies at the art school by playing this. And I've met a lot of people who are in punk bands in Hobart. People were looking for stuff, and I think because of that isolation, and you hear this about a lot of people in our sphere who come from regional areas, it's like they're hungrier. Any skerrick of
to be different sort of thing, to get like a feel, identity. And
in Tasmania, that's usually people getting into metal music, like a classic thing. Like metal has been the consistent kind of underground music, always popular in Tasmania. The fans are really loyal. I wish we had fans like metal fans. Yeah. Not dissing our fans, but
no. Yeah.
It's just it's sort of, you would just try to find anything that was kind of different. And even it was like a mention in a newspaper, or you wouldn't necessarily, although there was community radio in Tasmania, you'd hear the bigger newer wave stuff. But you pushed harder. Like, there's so many times, because you couldn't hear them, I would just buy records because I just read so much about them. That's what you used to do. And Triple J would play a bit of stuff, but still there'd be things that you would take a punt on. It'd be a big risk because I didn't have much money.
To buy just a record. Because I often think about that now, like how easy it is for the pros of it too, of being like a kid from the country or anywhere in the world, and get put onto a band or something through social media or YouTube or whatever, compared to what it was like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Like the difference of like, you can just submerge yourself in a subculture in a day, and you're like, I don't know if that's for good or bad, where you see like people can dress as like whatever you want to call it, like because they saw some page, and with it overnight their whole, do you know what I mean? Whereas maybe I don't know, what it was like back then.
Well, then I suppose,
do you think
in the past people would create or conceive their own regional takes on it, and I think maybe that's what we've lost with stuff being so easily available, is that we lose kind of regional or parochial sounds because you don't have that time for stuff to kind of fester. And
like the globalization,
get things wrong in private, basically. People kind of grow up in public now. Though I was thinking about this the other day. I was listening to people saying, everything's accessible, so there's no underground anymore, and things get big too quickly. And I would like to counter that. It's like the people who usually say that are from the big cities. You can still grow up in relative obscurity in regional areas and be completely ignored for your whole career. It's still nothing. There is still underground music out there and exciting scenes.
100%.
They're putting stuff on the internet, but there's so much on the internet.
It gets lost. That's what I mean. It might take what you were saying, like maybe it is 5-10 years that people find this band or this YouTube channel or this film that came out in the 2020s or whatever, but it didn't get the recognition or whatever.
And there's so much music out there. People are still discovering stuff from the 1960s.
Well, even like we were talking like Howard Eanon, for me, like finding that, like in being 25, whatever, like how like 40 years later, like stuff like that.
That is actually astounding. I'm glad other people cottoned onto it, and now it's there for future generations. So if there's some folky kiddie in Tasmania who's doing weird stuff and they don't feel like they fit in, if he hears Howard, he goes, oh, I'm actually part of a lineage. And there's a culture and a history here that I can learn from. I could literally email Howard and ask him a question.
Exactly.
Or go see him play.
Exactly.
Because he started playing again, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties in with like my kind of idea of making, because it's been so badly documented in the past. It's kind of why I started the Goulburn Street Archive to show, well, you know, there's people like me and Tom Lincoln and Monica Fickley and Tim Evans and Linda Johnston who still have music careers. We're still kind of doing records and stuff, and we connect with the present day and we're moving forward, but there's this history and career here. And, you know, there's countless other people in Tasmania. I don't think we've really had that in Tasmania before.
What's that?
Kind of recognising our cultural heritage in a way. There's bits and pieces, but because in Tasmania we suffer from such a brain drain, stuff will be brilliant for like 2 years. There'll be all these things going down, and then, like I've said in interviews before, 1 or 2 people will leave, and it's just like pulling the bit of cotton and can cause stuff to slow down or collapse.
Do you see a lot of people leave for like the bigger cities and stuff? Have you, like, obviously having your label and seeing music in Tasmania, do you see, is it the thing of like, and I know you can probably talk on it too, you moved to Melbourne for a couple of years and stuff, was that like always the, like in Tasmania, was it always like the thing, going to the big city, leave, you know how you hear that? Or, but I mean, it happens everywhere.
You can get to a certain point. Tasmania is and still is very conservative. You can feel as a young person it's very alienating. I still feel it as an older person.
Really? Even just being...
Like, I feel angrier, alienated about aspects of Tasmanian society, more so than I did when I left Tasmania, because I can kind of see a long-term... I can see all the good things as well and how you fight this stuff. But, it's tough. As much as Tasmania's advanced in... you know, LGBTQI plus stuff. You know, the arts gets a bit more recognition because of Mona, but not that much. I feel like, you know, aspects of the arts, especially in my sphere, like music, doesn't get its recognition that it should. I think we have a great cultural heritage. But mainstream Tasmanian society... there's no connection. I think it comes back to, in my sphere, we have those kind of long-term, what you'd call heritage acts, but no one really broke through. Like Perth has got the Triffids, and Brisbane's got the Saints. In my little realm, in my niche Tasmanian realm,
there wasn't.
I've got those equivalents. But not that they are being written.
They get
up in
written.
Mojo magazine or something like that.
You
know. So, but those they could have been. There just wasn't the right people at the right time around to support. And,
So what was it like? I guess we're jumping back and forth a bit, but like you found that you realized like music sort of touched you in a way, being a young kid, and then when was it like, obviously you're listening and you found out the Sex Pistols and Ramones and stuff, and then when was it like, okay, I'm going to start doing this, like that transition of like, because for me, like I've always been a fan of music and loved it, but I never had that like, I'm going to be in a, like when was that pull? Was it something like you knew this was for you? You know, when you hear those stories of just like a pivotal...
In Tasmania, year 11 and 12 is mostly separate. You go to colleges. And I turned up in year 11 and the course coordinator said, you've got a spare line. There's music here available. I didn't like doing music in high school. It was very uncool, or just I didn't connect with it. And I was like, I guess I'll do music, because I was like getting into bands at that time. There was no grand plan, and I turned up to the class and they said, what instrument do you want to try out? I went, I guess guitar. And so there wasn't like a grand plan to have this music career. And then my friends started playing in bands, and it looked fun. It was it all came, I guess, through my peer group. People swapping tapes. in conjunction with me, used to be able to get the C-mail copies of Melody Maker and NME, and I didn't have much money, but they were like $2.
Mm-mm.
So they were coming weekly into my local news agency. There was actually a record shop across the road from me in the shopping centre where we lived.
All right.
So that added to it. I would borrow music from the library. And I had heaps of older friends that were like, oh, you should check out this. If you like this, he was influenced or she was influenced by this person. Go back to the roots. And the advantage that when I was in year 11 and 12, there were like mature age students there. So then I'd find out about Scott Walker or Tom Waits or just esoteric stuff. And my music teacher, Ross, was brilliant because he would sit us down and just like play us Yes and Shostakovich and Billy Joel and S Express, and would be learning about how songs are structured, instrumentation. It was really good practical stuff for when I became a songwriter. And I guess Triple J had started in Hobart in 1990.
Yeah, right.
And that's when their playlists were a bit crazier, I guess, not so streamlined.
Yeah.
And so you were just being exposed to stuff.
Yeah.
Their hottest 100s were songs from all time. And they'd be like, that was when you first heard Joy Division or the Violent Femmes or, you know, all these Australian classics.
So you were really just getting immersed yourself in everything that was coming. Like you were just taking in.
I found some old diaries at the time, and I would listen to the radio and just be constantly writing the names of songs down.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Classically trying to tape songs off the radio.
Because you didn't have Shazam or anything.
No.
Because I find it so, if I hear, I can.
No, it was true detective work.
Yeah.
And then some kid would have bought the album and stuff, and so everyone would tape them off them. And then when I kind of moved in share houses, there were share house albums. So it's just like each album had a copy. I don't know. Alice Donuts and Untidy Suicides of Your Degenerate Children. That was a big album in Hobart. Shellac at Action Park around that mid-90s time. And then we learnt through, like, then I suppose the scene or us or me learnt about New Zealand music, which was so important to Tasmanians because we were like, these folks come up from a similar sized area, isolated.
Yeah.
And they've just gone, just do it. Just do it. And it's so inspiring, probably more inspiring than music than that was coming from the mainland for us, because it was like, we get the vibe.
Yeah. Because
and it's not like we were making the same type of music, but it was like we totally respected them because they were just did their own thing.
That feel and DIY.
And they were productive.
Is that like the Flying Nun sort of stuff?
Flying Nun. Yeah. The more kind of underground stuff like Expressway, which was people who were dissatisfied when Flying Nun kind of merged with Mushroom.
Right.
They kind of like, well, a lot of the more out there stuff's getting ignored. And then it moves into the more experimental stuff on the Corpus Hermeticum label. So it's all around like the Dead Sea and things like that.
Yeah, right.
So you got your jangly stuff, which is classic Flying Nun. You've got like an electronic or beats type thing, like Headless Chickens happening, coming from New Zealand. And then there's like quite full-on noise and experimental stuff.
Yeah.
And it was all... And you could get Flying Nun stuff pretty easy in Hobart because their Australian distributor had an agent in Tasmania. So you could, I bought all these like Flying Nun stuff on tape.
That would have been incredible. Yeah.
And also, it was for festival, and so a lot of they were the licensee for a lot of underground labels overseas. So we got a lot of factory stuff in Tasmania, which you can't deny the influence of Joy Division on Tasmanian music.
Yeah.
Stuff like Happy Mondays and New Order. So.
Yeah, incredible.
So it's funny how these like little things kind of crop up, and you find out years later, that's why I could get all those Factory Records compilations because people would sell them directly into shops here. Yeah.
And what was it about like you talk, obviously the scenes you've been in and everything, and what you're talking about, like influences and stuff, like the DIY, like sort of that punk sort of culture, DIY, what do you think was it that you gravitated toward? Like, what do you think I mean, I guess the question is like, DIY, like what does that mean to you? And like when you think back on all these bands that continue to do it and maybe aren't mainstream and go under the radar a bit, but are still like working a full-time job and doing their thing and keeping it real raw, like what is that sort of, when you think of
Well, I think what attracted me was this sense of community, like connecting with like-minded souls and sharing ideas. Like it was great when bands would tour and you'd kind of stay up late after the show and they'd probably be staying at your house and just feeling you were kind of part of something bigger. Just the classic thing of like being alienated and meeting other alienated people. But also inspired by people using whatever they had in their means. If it was a boom box, it was a dictaphone. If it was someone had a 4-track and you borrowed it and someone else had microphones, it was sharing resources to document what you were doing. Because you put all this, so many bands in Tasmania classically would put all this energy into whatever they were doing, and there's no footprint. There's nothing left of them or great. And what I could see as you learn, you know, I was huge into Nirvana, and the brilliant thing about them is that they'd talk about their influences, and you would go look up the Raincoats and you would go look up K Records. And I've been to Olympia now, and it's about the size, it's probably smaller than Hobart, but it's just getting to just do it. And you know, I'm a big record buyer, and it's just like the idea of like putting out your own record, just doing it and not having to get permission from anyone.
Or like that agenda thing. That's what I sort of like about when I talk just this, like I can just pick up one, like it's have a genuine chat.
Yeah, it's the most punk thing. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Like,
is that what you would say to like when people like hesitate or overthink shit, like on all of that, like, because you can get overwhelmed now too, and I find there's so much shit, like you see so much online, it's like, oh, why begin it? Like everyone's already, you know, especially nowadays with just how much you can see. It's like, what do you think on that?
I'm literally addressing a youth music forum for the Hobart City Council, or like I'm one of the participants. And, you know, one thing I'll probably say is that if I found someone was writing songs or talking about forming a band, I would say, have you got 6 songs? And this is what I did, and a lot of us did in the 90s. We would push each other. You got 6 songs? Okay, you're doing a show with us on the 26th of September. And, you know, just try to... Because someone did that to me, took a punt on me and said, you got 6 songs? Oh, we're doing a show.
Yeah, that's amazing.
6 songs and a cover. And then... Oh, you got 6 songs? Have you recorded them? Oh, you should go speak to such and such to record. And you should put out a tape. Just do like 20. Or CDRs were brilliant. Jesus Christ, like the explosion of music that happened with CDRs. And then MySpace and all these like... And now Bandcamp, it's like, yeah, just do it. You know, and... The great thing about Hobart is that in a lot of ways it's such low stakes, so you haven't got the world looking at you. I mean, it's also tough having the eyes of your peers on you. But it's just like Roland says, do it. Do it.
Yeah. Fully. I think it is just like, I think just starting it. I think too, seeing like an idea come to life is pretty special. Like, you know, when you have an idea ruminating, and then like you actually put it in like reality, physical, it's like a whole different, because like things come that you have to work through that you couldn't plan for. Like you think, I don't know, I think like obstacles come and you just take it as it.
But I think it's super important to have faith in yourself, but it's super beneficial to pass that on to people and show that you have faith in them. You know, it's sort of... And I can see from like running a label how bands just stay together when I say, or Claire says, we want to do a tape with you. And it is, and I know for myself, someone who has no real benefit putting out my music just saying I like your music. It's like they're not going to make a heap of money or anything like that. They just like your music and they want other people to hear it. It's so gratifying, and it's what keeps you going. Those little, it's not like money. It's just people giving a fuck.
Yeah.
It is wonderful.
Just a small comment or something. Like, that's all. Even like, it rarely happens with this, but I'll have like a little DM and someone will just be like, loving the pod or something. Just someone random from like, and that's even if it's been like a hand, but just though, like sometimes, because you know, you get in moments you're like, is it worth, with anything, job, creative outlet, you're like, oh, is it worth doing? Is it worth like continuing? And then you get like small, and then it's like, it's just like a little, I just take them as like something to like, a reminder to like, you're on sort of something that's seems worthwhile doing.
Yeah,
you know?
those little bits of kindness.
Is that what you've?
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, it can be the good and the bad thing with social media, but it's just, getting a little, if I'm having a hard day at work or something like that, and someone says, oh, I just picked up your record from Rocksteady or Repressed or something, it's really good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's like, oh, thanks, man. And that's, I think I learned I see it with a lot of, and I know I did it myself, it's just like you want to be, some people don't know how to take a compliment, and I've seen a lot of people get compliments from people who are just, and it can take a lot of guts to go up to someone you don't know and say, I like what you do.
Yeah.
And for someone to go, oh no, we really hate that album, that's shit. You can't do that to people who have come up and taken the effort to say something nice to you. Okay, you can think your album's shit, but that's that record, whatever you've done, piece of art, whatever, means something to someone. And Chloe and I have talked about this because we're not big-headed people, but it's also like sometimes you just have to say thank you. You don't need to comment on it. It's just like,
just that, and you would have that, obviously you having that label now, like finding people and like what you said, encouraging them and continuing to put out, like that must help. I think because obviously there's probably not too many doing that, I think, especially in Tasmania, like, do you know what I mean? So like to have
I think
Rough Sky Records
that ties in with like there having not been many labels in Tasmania, like at a DIY level where
that's what I noticed looking into it.
It's sort of, there were a few, there were kind of some that were based around studio, like with Howard's record that was from on Candle Records, or I think it was an offshoot of Candle. Just like no one thought to start a label, but I suppose because you need people around you running labels to inspire you. So there's nothing to kick you off, and there's no Roger Shepherd or Ian Mackay there who just does it out of pure bloody mindedness. You can't get that critical mass going of creativity, and that's what I can see. Like after years of being involved in labels and Hobart, other people's labels, is that it gets things rolling. You know, and even if a band doesn't last, they're like, oh, we did it, and we got an album out, and we got this done, and we had these experiences. Music is worthwhile. And so, whereas a lot of people I felt like in Tasmania would stop music around 24, 25, you got people kind of making these careers or semi-careers, or I don't like the word hobby unless I'm talking to the tax department.
How do you say, do you like, how do you,
it's a calling.
I
don't know if that's
that's
pretentious, but it's just like I have to do it.
Like you can't see yourself doing anything. Like and I kind of have to remind people, because it's a lot easier getting your music out there in a lot of ways, just the access to the technology to record and forms of distribution and promotion. You kind of owe it to past generations of Tasmanian musicians who didn't have those opportunities. I know people who were in amazing bands, and there's like one recording of them which isn't very good. Kind of what I was saying before. So you kind of owe it to yourself, and you owe it to who came before you. To just go do it. Honouring that and like just going to the core. You're kind of
you're in that position because people organise gigs in the past that happen at venues that inspired other people. It's all like tied in together. And I'm not here where I am without, although we're, you know, generations apart, you know, because of people like Howard Enon or the Philistines or Wild Pumpkins and Midnight or Mouth or any manner. And it's all connected because if it's not connected by people, it's connected by places, places like radio stations, record stores, community arts halls, you know, it all feeds in together. And it's also what, on a side note, it kind of annoyed me. I wasn't annoyed at Mona, but there was this narrative that nothing was happening in Tasmania before Mona came along in a lot of the pieces when it kind of really blew up. And it's just like Mona couldn't have existed without there being an arts and music community already. There are already fringe festivals. There are already kind of multimedia artist collectives doing very similar shows to what Mona went on to do. Mona couldn't have come out of a vacuum. They had to have people that, I've got friends that work there that have been involved in the arts for years and they were able to find permanent full-time work at Mona.
So there's always something before. That's the thing. I always take it, like there's always, and you always get influenced by, even just talking to people like on here, like how you always get influenced by something and then you try to copy that at the start and then it just becomes your own thing, you know? Like, you know, you have that influence and you want to be that band or whatever. And then I think, or whatever it is, like you see, and then through time you filter into it's just like more of you comes out of it. You know?
And you find out stuff inadvertently that may have influenced you. There was a performer, I don't think he even played live. This guy, look up his videos on YouTube, he's called Chainmail, and he did this kind of really out there electronica in the early 80s, and he had access to doing music videos, and they'd be on YouTube with the byline, "This is the worst song ever," you know, like those series of videos, worst music video ever. And it's actually like kind of closer to, if Chainmail had been in the UK, it would be coming out on Mute Records or Rough Trade. It's really interesting stuff, and I hope more people discover. He was kind of like a mime and a singer, and that's what he looks like in his performances on these videos. But it's just like, well, you know, that's part of a lineage that the native cats could belong to, you know.
I have to check that out. You have to send it to me. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think and the interest is growing. So it's cool stuff, and there's such a market for, I mean, labels like soul jazz and stuff, all the stuff that John Savage or Bob Stanley has done, or even Mikey Young. There's always so much music out there that's to be discovered from the past.
Oh yeah, those compilations.
Yeah,
even
and it builds up a bigger picture, and all the dots are joining together.
But even like what those compilations you've done, like 4 volumes now. Rough Skies. Like even for me to go and listen to those bands like from the past, and these Hobart and Tasmanian based artists, you know, and like these, what you said, like these bands that were formed for a couple of years and then they stopped, and just being able to get more of like I think all of that, and any compilation and repressing, and even like this label, I don't know if you've heard of what Hibbie B Funk's doing. He has this like label, and he's finding all these incredible like Middle Eastern artists, and he's repressing their albums and stuff, and it's incredible, just like electronic and jazz and
like a lot of stuff that may have just only come out on cassette.
Stuff like, and he's like working with them and going to these countries. I think he's from there, and he was like, there's like Algerian jazz, and like it's incredible, like just those sort of, when you see like people like that doing it, and like what you're doing and stuff, I think that looking at the past and taking it, and
well, the thing that I'm proud about, or an aspect or whatever, with those community compilations is that if you lay out all because they were done on CD, and I would list all the people playing, you can see a person's musical journey. They started in this band and then they moved to this band, or that band continued, say, between volume 2 and 3, but then they were doing a new thing on volume 4. And maybe one day I should just like draw a crazy map in between everyone.
But it's all linked and stuff.
But yeah, it's all linked. But you're not only seeing the people playing in the bands, but the people recording, the people who are like some of the folks who did the artwork for community compilations are playing in those bands. And then, you know, it's just like people I'm thanking are then eventually appearing in a band. And I would list stores that would support us, like Tommy Gun Records has been so important in Hobart. But yeah, Tommy Gun Records is part of a longer, vital heritage of influencing people in Hobart. You can't underestimate, especially for me, the influence record stores have had.
Yeah, because they were a place to, I mean, especially when you think before internet, like that were the places you go. I just forget, like for me, like it's just so easy, like I said, to get lost in like Bandcamp being the new record store. Like back then it was like you go in and even just talking to like, I'm sure the store owners, or you have that chat, and that opens up something, you know, like I think those things are special, and that's why I think that's the kind of like the internet stuff is just like taking you further away from like connecting with people and meeting people like at a record store, as opposed to, I mean, there's amazing things too, but I just think that you sort of miss. I love talking to people in record stores. I went to Poison City Records and had a good yarn with the folks there, and but because you go into these record stores regularly, they get an idea of what you're into. Also, you know, they want to make a sale as well. Yeah, of course.
But it's just like, I love that, and I know, building these relationships with people. Like there was I mentioned Stefan, who ran Discurio and Music Without Frontiers, and there was another guy, Lynn Stanton, and sadly both passed away. Kind of baby boomer age guys who had been involved in record dealing since the 60s or 70s, and so they would say, oh, you bought that, you might want to check out this and stuff, or we just got this pile of records in, I think you'd be interested, have a look through it. And you know, or I think reading the liner notes for Incesticide by Nirvana, and Kurt Cobain's telling his story about the Raincoats, and I was like, oh, I should. And there was the first Raincoats record in Airplane Records the next day, and it was like, yeah, cool, and all these things
connect. Yeah, that's what I find. Like for me, it was always like, if I even finding a band or something, I'm always going back to like the interviews and who they named and like the influences, even like books they're reading or films, or do you know what I mean? Or other.
Oh yeah, I love a band that shares.
Yeah,
I can't abide bands that sort of keep their cards close to their chest and be like, oh, you know, we're not going to talk about this band because it's just like, share it.
Yeah.
You know, you owe it as a favour to your influences for people to go look for that shit.
Yeah.
It's like Nirvana, I keep coming back to them. They help the careers of so many people. You
even think Daniel Johnson. I always just think of him wearing the T-shirt. And
I went and bought a Raincoats record, you know, and then I was like, oh, Rough Trade, what's the deal with them? And it's just like, oh, the Smiths are on Rough Trade. And then in the 90s and 2000s, people actually started writing books about that punk and post-punk scene, and you draw the dots together. And that, you know, that's what inspires you as well, not only local music, but people from other small towns.
Yeah. And the people that, like you said, that don't get named in the big, like, papers or news or whatever it is, but that they created like this scene for a lot of people to flourish from. I think I remember even reading like Warren Ellis's I don't know if you read his book, Nina Simone's Gum.
No.
But there was a guy, I don't know if you knew of him, I think Mick Geary or something.
Was he their manager or something?
Yeah, something. He was doing
he helped them out.
Yeah, and he was doing these compilations on cassettes for them, and he would just hand them out, and like he influenced like Nick and Warren and stuff by putting him onto these. Yeah, I think he passed away a while ago. There's, I think, PBS or Triple R did a doco on him. I think it's Mike Geary. Anyway, but I just remember people like that you hear, and putting people like Warren and Nick onto stuff that would later influence, you know, anyway. But that's...
People who share music are amazing. They... just don't be a gatekeeper. Don't be snobby. Don't be... Have opinions, you know. It's okay to like or hate stuff, but just kind of give it some context.
Yeah.
And it's what I've had to learn. You just can't dismiss things out of hand sometimes. And as you get older, it's... Patton Oswalt has those great things about... I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, Patton.
Big music fan, like great music taste.
And he has a film, and he loves films too. I think he was an actor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was acted in quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I remember him.
He's a massive film head, but and he'll tell jokes about Minor Threat.
Yeah.
He's a fairly mainstream comedian in some ways. But he talks about people being younger and being really dogmatic, which I know I was, and especially in, you know, Tasmania in the 90s, we're like, fuck this, and this is shit, and stuff like that. And when you kind of get older and you kind of learn what the world really is, it's just like someone doing music and bringing someone else joy is kind of harmless and wonderful.
Exactly.
At the same time. I don't mean harmless in a insulting way.
No.
But it's just like, well... You get into it as long as you don't have to deal with it at work or something, listening to it on the radio all the time. That's where it gets irritating. But you know, he makes a joke about, you know, back in the day he would have hated on Nickelback and stuff like that. And I think the joke is that it's just guys going and it's just like, in the scheme of things, it's not that bad. And he was suggested that Nickelback do a box, if they ever do a box set, it's like, it's not Pol Pot. You know, there's so many worse things in the world, 100%. Like, you know, rise of fascism in the world and stuff like that. And it's just like, if someone can like find some joy in their day from a TV show or a movie or a song to kind of help them get through, good on them.
You think of how many people fall back, like even for myself, when you're not feeling the best or weeks or whatever, like listening to an album or a film, like it just, sometimes it can just help you so much in those sort of moments. And I mean, that's what art's there too, I think. And for the people creating it, like, I don't know, do you see it as like something, as a form of therapy, or like something that helps you process every day? And do you know what I mean? Like,
it's all of that and more. It's something to jump around to. It's something to stay still to. It's something to reflect. It's something to be distracted by. Art serves a purpose in so many ways that so many people don't acknowledge. Like the world without art. It's you know, it's what tech bros don't understand about, you know, AI is just, you can't replace that human experience. Engaging in art or creating art. And it's the best thing ever. I don't necessarily come from an artistic family at all. There's some parts of my extended family, but you know, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, not only music, but I don't know, my love of comedy or TV and movies and visual art. And I don't know, it's the great thing about Hobart is because it's so small, you're mixed with so many people from different disciplines.
I wanted to talk on when you came to Melbourne and that sort of experience and writing music and getting into those bands in your early 20s and teens, and then the move, and then, because I know you mentioned that it was a really pivotal moment, I think you said, coming back to Tassie or going back to studies, I think you said, or something. Yeah, so what was that? I'm just curious, like what?
Well, I had 3 years here from the late 2000s, and I left here in 2003. I worked in the Shock Records warehouse with everyone else in the band scene. And that was really inspiring because it was people from a lot of different genres, and we would just and people would be coming off tours or going on tours, and you'd talk about, because it was fairly mundane work, packing boxes. So you just talk about how you did stuff and pick at each other's brains and share ideas, and it was just really inspiring. So when I moved back to Tassie, I'd accumulated all this knowledge. I became the volunteer music coordinator at Edge Radio, which just started down there, and passed on those skills. And I'd come back to Hobart with a different perspective on how to get things done, and how it could work in a Tasmanian context. And I think a lot of the problem with people trying to get things done in Tasmania is that they've used, if I used how, say, Sub Pop or Rough Trade Records started, it would not work in a Tasmanian context because we don't have as many people in Tasmania, or there's not a lineage there or something. So I think when things have worked in Tasmania, they've taken bits and pieces from the outside, but you've got to approach the Tasmanian thing differently. We're a very poor state. We're conservative in some ways, but quite radical in others. And yeah, you've just got to find a new way. You've got to graft things on. You've got to do things in completely different approaches, and I'm still figuring it out. I guess I've managed to forge a career doing music in Tasmania, but there's a lot of mistakes in there.
And do you think that's part of it, when the mistake part, just learning as you go, and that sort of, because you can never fully, like I said, with anything, have a plan.
I'm always learning.
Is that a principle you live by, and just a sort of thing?
There's things I know definitely work, and if somebody, I can get into arguments with people saying, it's got to be done this way, but then I can be proven wrong, and I'm fine with being proven wrong. Yeah, as long as there's a good outcome. It's a slog in Tasmania doing creative stuff, and you've just got to have that bloody mindedness to get through. I don't blame people for opting out or stopping and stuff, because it's a slog. But it's so rewarding when you have these positive outcomes. You get people into things, you get people excited, you get people who may not have thought of being in a band.
That's great. That's amazing.
That is
there's nothing.
We've been a few people in Hobart have been running a version of little bands in Tasmania for the past couple of years, and so many bands have come of that, and it's literally the first time people have gotten on stage.
That's incredible.
And they may not even be able to play their instruments in a conventional way. I don't think there's any conventional way to play music, because I come from that aspect. But it removes that gatekeepery thing of you have to be this proficient. It's punk rock.
Yeah. Going back to that DIY, starting just doing it. Yeah, that's special. So you came back here, and then when did sort of the Native Cats formed in 2007, was it around then? Yeah,
so Chloe and I had done some, like I've said a lot before, we collaborated in my previous band, the Bad Luck Charms, and Chloe's songs, I could see then were amazing. Her solo stuff, she was just playing piano and singing and doing a bit of electronica, and I kind of took some time to think how we could kind of graft the two together. And I also wanted to create a band that we could both manage. I was starting to work full time, and it had to be in a way that maybe wasn't a conventional rock band setup. So I think the band has lasted as long as it has because we can leave it for a bit and come back to it relatively easy. It's opened us up to a lot of interesting and wonderful experiences. But just logistically, it's an easy band to do when Chloe drives now and stuff, but, you know, we could travel with... the Minutemen, we jam a chrono. And we've put limitations on ourselves, but it's also forced us to be more creative. We talked about this the other day. It's just like we talk about introducing more people and other instruments, and we've experimented, but it comes down to these basic core which we've got, but it allows us a lot of freedom within that.
Do you think that there is something in that, like having limitation, like when you hear of like the 4-track thing of like, you know, I'm not a musician, but when you hear like when you, or if a filmmaker just has that camcorder or a phone to do, like limiting yourself, like it can... Too
much freedom can stymie you.
Yeah, have you ever found lost. That? Being a
like, musician? It must have been, you look at all those, the amazing stuff people were doing with 2 tracks and 4 tracks in the 1960s, the amazing stuff they were doing in mono recordings. And it was just they were pushing that technology to its limits, and it's great when you've got access and you can do multiple things. Because still wonderful. I'm not saying freedom's a bad thing, but sometimes I guess you need parameters. And okay, let's do this. And with parameters or limitations, you can flip that on its head very easily. Whereas you're going off on all these tangents, you can't flip something that's so broad, maybe.
So you found that with Chloe, you two, just being able to, just with her, your bass, maybe a synth, like it's just...
And it really focuses the songs down to its... And we can take, like I said, we can take it off on these tangents, but I think it's all about the song with me. And the ideas. It's... What
do you mean by that? Like before it comes...
I suppose a lot of people go, you know, how do I get my band across? How do I get to new audiences? How do I market myself? How do I get the right gigs? Or how do I get with the right label? And it's down to songs and ideas. That's all it really is. People get distracted. I remember seeing a poster in Hobart for a band. They were kind of a hard rock band, and the poster was a photo of them advertising a gig, and it said on the poster they were industry ready. And that was like, what does that mean? It's just like, is it just you've got like a structure behind you that slots into the music industry? It's not like, I mean, how exciting is that as well? It's like, rock and roll rebellion, we're industry ready. But it's just like, well, do you actually have good songs?
That's really interesting. You always come back to the process, doing the like you and Chloe recording, because all the stuff you mentioned, like, is all external stuff. Like, how do we look, the audience, like, that's one thing I gathered to you guys. It's not about, like, people are going to gravitate towards it because it's real, it's raw, like it's not about all this. Like, I mean, I think that's what would be hard for young people getting into bands now, where you have to think about all those. You've got
to have a shtick.
It's hard.
And I love people with shtick. It's just like sometimes they're my favourite bands but they've also got good songs. If you've got shtick, and songs, brilliant. I don't feel like we have that much shtick. Where we've got great banter sometimes, where I think we're funny. Not in a zany way, but that's how we really, I feel like one of our strengths. I mean, Chloe is an actual stand-up comedian. She won Raw, literally the first time she ever did stand-up comedy, like that's the local heat.
Really? That's I gotta get Chloe. I gotta talk to Chloe too eventually. That would, I didn't even know that.
She doesn't do as much comedy now, but she's one of the funniest people I know. And to have that as a front person,
that'd be
like the stories and banter. That brings people in. You can see people, they listen and stuff, and it's. I suppose that's part of our shtick. It's just like we have some fun at shows, and not like trying to be crazy and zany folks, but I think that kind of relaxes people as well, because we're just kind of, you know, let's have a chat, let's engage. You want to heckle? Yeah, cool, we'll engage. I'm not afraid of heckling. I grew up in the Hobart heckle mines, and it's end of the 1990s.
Was it a big thing? Was it like that?
Heckling was a big thing, so much so that it was a shock coming to Melbourne in the early 2000s, and nobody heckled. And if you heckled, everyone would look at you and you'd go... And a heckle is not necessarily to insult, but sometimes you just want to
scream out,
see how the band responds. And you can have these great to and fro.
There was actually a bit of that at the Dick Diver gig last night.
There
was some people just throwing out some stuff.
And it's just it's just funny. There can be, but it can also be a great opportunity if someone's like trying to be genuinely rude to kind of
call them out on it or whatever,
or do whatever. It's like I've seen bands freak out when they get heckled, and I can understand you feel very exposed, but it's also like you can just ignore it. You can just move on, or you can just use it to play really fucking amazing. You know.
That's interesting.
But yeah, heckling was a big thing in Tassie, and it's kind of what built the community as well, because sometimes it would be mean, sometimes it'd just be surreal. People would just yell out weird things, and to see a band crack up and then respond back, it's the classic punk thing of breaking down barriers and like building this dialogue sometimes. Sometimes it's completely unnecessary, but you know, I know, most fun gigs I've had, whereas it just toing and froing.
Well, I mean, that's what I love, because I love stand-up comedy. I love that art form. I watch a lot of it. But even like you think hecklers in the stand-up, or like crowd work and stuff, I love that, like, because it's so spontaneous. It's like in the moment. You can't plan what someone might say or who's in the crowd. And I love that's sort of a little bit similar, I guess. But
sorry, what was your original question?
I don't know. I can't even remember. I was just going off on heckling comedy.
These are the best podcasts. It's just like having a yarn.
No, I was going to ask, because I know you mentioned, we'll wrap up pretty soon, but I could have a couple more questions. But like you talked about, like, I read an interview, like Native Cats and the song structure and stuff, and you're really like drawn to like hooks and bassline, obviously the bassline and stuff, and like getting stuck in someone's head. And the more, like, you know, your songs sort of staying in people's minds and stuff. And I've found even the last couple of weeks, just, you know, getting ready for this interview and listening to a bit more of you guys, like, songs genuinely do stay. Like, I've had that, I think my favorite track is the Vivian Left Me, and I've just had that Vivian left me, like that hook and bass, like that whole thing just stuck in my head. And it was interesting after hearing that and then reading some interviews of how true that actually is with what you guys
draw people in.
Because I don't have that with a lot of.
Well, it's just like a classic kind of popular music thing. It's like you remember riffs and you remember melody lines and you remember distinctive lyrics, and it doesn't matter what genre it is, but it's just like something for the brain to kind of literally hook on to stuff. It's like my first big favourite band was the Beatles, who were the ultimate hookmasters, and The Fall and New Order, like, and you know, like a lot of soul music is just based around these kind of hooks and riffs and stanzas and but also like those emotional highs and lows and moving between the two and build-ups and dynamics. It's exciting to play that music. It's exciting to see people drawn into it. And, you know, it's just the advantage of us being really stripped down is just like, it's just like the song could just be that simple bass line.
But then when the synth comes, like songs when the synth, I love the build up of how you guys, this is just me talking now, listening, like the build up of songs and how like it gradually gets more intense. Like I think like one of my personal favorite songs that I always like, Nick Cave's Jubilee Street. I don't know if you know that track. And you know how it, and I saw that live once and like it was so intense, like how it builds up. But it just made me think of like some of the tracks that you guys have of like how it builds up, and then there might be some synths, and it like gradually gets into this more intense. And I haven't been able to see you guys live yet, but like that would be like you know, like that you know.
When we're going
Do you
good,
think on that?
that's where we go, and it's been harder because I've played with live bands leading up to the Native Cats, so you can physically mess with the dynamics with the drum machine. It can be a bit harder. There's a bit more fiddling around. We're not like amazingly technical people, so that's what plays into the repetition of our songs as well, which further emphasizes the hooks and the riffs and stuff like that. But yeah, we've gradually gotten better at working dynamics and stuff. We don't rehearse like a kind of a conventional band as much. Literally, we're probably going to be doing a few songs in sound check that we've never I'll send Chloe an idea. She'll write lyrics and say, "Okay, we're doing this," and the first time we're going to play this is actually on stage.
That's incredible.
Which I think really helps with the fact, because we're a sequencer and drum machine band, it reintroduces this kind of random spontaneity factor.
Yeah.
Where, okay, we're going out on the edge here, kind of terrifying, but exciting as well.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine the feeling on stage having that.
Yeah.
Like hearing it the first time for yourself and for the audience. It's like...
And usually because I'm the live instrument, it's pretty hairy for me sometimes.
Do you ever get nervous and stuff before gig? Or like, I know you said coming into Melbourne, like the day is just thinking about the gig. How do you what's your sort of process with that?
I don't know. Nervousness, I'm pretty comfortable on stage now, touch wood. It'll just get me randomly, and I'll probably be affected by things like if I'm stressed, or just it will suddenly dawn on me that I'm about to go on stage and play 5 new songs. And I'm a lot more relaxed, and I think I came from Hobart was a very kind of is and can be a very angsty place in terms of the way the music is performed sometimes.
Right.
And so you thought you had to kind of build up this energy to, and that's coming from I suppose a punk thing. But I found if I try to relax more on stage, I can actually be more intense and be more direct.
It's like the paradox of like what you think, but it's also that law of like when you're trying to do, when you're trying to like really do something, like grab onto it, it never works. But as soon as you let go of it, that's when you get it. Yeah, it's sort of like,
I don't know if it's a Zen type
thing.
I
think it legitimately is. Yeah,
it's just like become kind of part of it. Whereas before it'd be like full on playing, and it's just like, drummer's irritating me, and it feels like we're gonna have a punch up. Not that I'm that type of guy, but it's just, and it'd be intense, but it's not a great way to do music in the long term, because it just winds you down. Like you just get worn out. Whereas if music can be, I guess, not exactly pleasurable, but just this thing where you are reaching that centeredness and able to direct whatever the fuck you're doing in that way, convey that message, play that riff, play that hook, then you're better for it. And you can sustain that kind of lifestyle longer. It's just... Yeah,
that's interesting. So just getting more in that flow and being comfortable.
And I can see various things taking a toll on my body, although I'm not a very physical performer and stuff. Just in the past couple of years, like I'm 50 now, and it's just, my body's changing. It's one thing they don't tell you. It's just like in your life, they go on about adolescence and stuff, but I feel like getting 40s and 50s, it's as profound as your adolescence.
Really?
Yeah.
In what sense? That's really interesting. I've actually never heard anyone
just
put it
on
like
so many levels. I'm starting to find it physical changes, mental changes. It's as profound as adolescence, I think. Some things are better, some things are worse. There's aspects of your health you've got to look out for more. but yeah, just as with your adolescence, you kind of got to keep a guard on your mental health. You know, look after yourself.
Yeah. Do you have things that help, like in that aspect of mental health? Because I'm always sort of proponent, and I always thinking of ways for myself to, you know, if it's simple things as journaling or meditating or whatever, like, is there things that, I mean, obviously music is probably...
Writing a song.
Is that something?
Yeah. That's probably why I've kept doing it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons.
Yeah.
Listening to podcasts.
Same.
No, podcasts have been great because, you know, if I'm in a circular thought of stuff, it's been a good distraction where it's like, give your brain a break.
Yeah.
But also engage as well. It's not like you're turning off. It's similar to kind of reading a book, I guess. It's sort of, let's just use your brain in a bit more of a positive way.
Yeah.
You're not trying to escape from your problems like maybe some people use with like substances. And I'm not dismissing that. Everyone's got to use their ways to kind of get through their day. But podcasts are probably a bit healthier.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, you know, trying to get exercise, just all the usual obvious things that, funnily enough, people try to monetize. It's just like all these diets and stuff.
Yeah,
it's
you
just
see
like,
it even.
Yeah, you can't make money out of like, you know, telling people to go for a walk and having a balanced diet. So they add all these other things so they can monetize it. It's just like, most healthy stuff you don't...
It's for free, really.
It's for free.
That's what I found too, like just simplifying. Like everything can be so simple, like, you know, doesn't need to be so...
Yeah.
But that's like going back to the whole... You know, you get sucked into the devices and all this other shit that's going, but it's really... It can be simple when you break it down.
Yeah.
Like,
or it could be complicated. You just...
you
do what's best for you at the time.
Exactly.
To get through. Life's hard enough as it is for a lot of people. And if you can find stuff that you find pleasurable that doesn't harm other people, fine.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, that's interesting that how you said what you're going through now is like an adolescence thing. Because I think we do sort of, there's so much change and like we do die off at certain points. Like you think of like your teenage self. I heard someone say it. I don't know what I was listening to, but like we think like death is this like foreign thing, but it happens at so many stages. Like your child self is gone, like your teenage self. If I think back to like a different like environment you were in, that's like cut off. Like there actually are these mini. Yeah. If you really look at it like that lens, I don't know. I found that quite interesting. Just on what you're saying.
I also find that teenage self is still there. Cause, I always think, and you know, name dropping here, but I'm friends with Brian Ritchie, and the first big concert I went to when I was 17, I got in and snuck in underage. Well, I paid for tickets. I didn't sneak in, but was the Violent Femmes. And I think, oh man, that 17-year-old would be stoked that, you know, I chat to Brian and, you know, he's booked my band and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the gratifying thing about continuing on with your art or your music or whatever you're doing, is to have these little experiences. And Chloe and I stop and look at the band and say, do we keep going? And it's just like the thing that keeps us going is these funny little experiences that we have. Tonight will be another one, like catch up with a lot of friends we have long connections with that have supported us, and we've mutually helped each other out. We're part of this
it's amazing
international pop underground, as Calvin Johnson once said. And it's very gratifying, you know, and we're probably too lazy to break up as well.
That's good. We'll wrap it up, I think, pretty soon. I sort of leave it on, like, you know, you sort of mentioned it a bit, talking about it, but like what you'd sort of say to young people getting into spaces and maybe even your younger self and that sort of thing. I always leave it with, like, what would you say? I guess young creatives, young musicians getting in to the spaces like you've sort of dabbled in and been part of. And
it's hard sometimes because it can be a very stressful space, but if you can take a breath and try to be kind, or just be kind, because and try to support each other, but also give people space when they need it. All those things are kind of helpful. You can't really lose anything by being creative. You'll make mistakes, but that could lead to something else. Stuff leads to other things, and it can be really rewarding, and it's kind of sad when people kind of give up at a certain point. So that's why it's good to be kind and supportive of each other, because that person you be kind and supportive to could go on to create this brilliant form of art that inspires all these other people to do it, and it just adds to the wealth of being human and being part of a society or a community. It's all valid. Some things are shit, some things are good.
No, thank you so much, Julian.
That's okay.
I'll leave, obviously people can check out band camps. I'll leave the band camps and Native Cats and Rough Skies.
Band camp.
Yeah, that's what I've found recently with the whole spot. Like, I'm sort of like, I don't know what to do, it's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll put all that,
I feel like, people say it's the way of the future, but just in the back of my mind, it just feels like, I'm older, so, I've come through a lot of different ways of accessing music. But streaming, I love that people can access it anywhere, because I didn't have that access. But also kind of feels like a bit of a scam, People can be a fan of music or a band, but it's a very passive way
I know what you mean.
of engaging with music.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying everyone has to go into a record store and buy a CD or a record, but I felt like people were, in some ways, connected with music in different ways, because they weren't passively accessing.
Whereas now it's just like you see, I know, and I think you said it in that booklet that you sent. Thanks so much for sending it. The 7-inch.
Yeah.
The Aces track is amazing, by the way. But you said in the booklet, the interview, about how like it's creating, like, I think, culture to like content. You know what I mean? Like, it's becoming this content thing.
Yeah.
And just streaming services, and it's just interesting, that whole dynamic of like, just that, I don't know, that whole, and I find it, even for myself, consuming and taking in, I'm like, yeah, what's the right way, best way? Like, I want to sit with an album. I don't want to just always be going to singles.
It comes back to what we were talking about, record stores. If you go out your door, you walk to, or get, however you get to your local record store, all the things that happen to you on the way, and all the things that happen to you on the way back, and the random things, and you walk into the record store, so when one of your friends walks in there, and you find out someone's having a baby, or that social engagement. And the internet provides different social engagement, which is still valid, but all those wonderful serendipitous things that could happen going out. And you don't even necessarily have to buy a record. You could just be flicking through, or you could be there to grab the street press, or whatever is in there, or, and I think those aspects can be lost. And, it's just, and you can see it now, kind of CBDs, I suppose, in another way, they've all, no, I'm just, cut that bit out. Thought I had a wonderfully profound tangent.
No, that's right. But I definitely agree with all. Like, I get what you're saying though. Like, you're going into where you're going. That whole experience is part of that, the music too, and what you buy, what you see. Like, you don't really get that. It's like, okay, I could buy that same record. I could play that same record on Spotify, but I'm not going to get that.
Yeah.
That I saw this person, the record store owner, talked about how he knew the bass player in the band I was going to purchase, or, you know what I mean? I get what you mean, like that.
And please still buy our stuff off Bandcamp as well.
No.
But if you order stuff from Bandcamp,
no, but they're 100%
then
way better. Yeah.
You might have to go to your local post office. You could, random things like you could meet the love of your life at the post office.
Yeah. Or at a Native
The
Cats
post office
gig.
is a wonderful place.
Meet the love of your life at a Native Cats gig. Yeah,
some people have.
Have they? Yeah, have you heard that?
Well, there was with my previous band, amongst a few of our friends, with the Bad Luck Charms that Chloe collaborated with.
Mm.
There's definitely people who got together at some of our gigs
That's
who
amazing.
now have families. That's another wonderful experience that happens with playing music so long. These people who are young and, you know, they come to this gig and they get together and they're bringing their kids to our gigs. And
amazing.
it's like, it's all part of this life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you look back at it all, to finish it, what comes to mind? Just like, obviously still so much more to go, and you guys touring and putting out, like what?
It's still going. It's just an ongoing I can't say at this moment. It's like there's some bits I reflect on and I wish I could have done better, but if I hadn't made that mistake, I wouldn't have made that better decision later on.
Mm.
So yeah. But although I have an aspect of my life that is archival, I'm always interested in the future and trying to make it better for the people around me and myself.
Yeah.
In whatever I can do in the limited amount of time I do have outside of full-time work.
Yeah. No, we'll leave it there.
Cool.
Thank you again, Julian. Really appreciate it, man. Peace.